Hey everyone, the trouble continues. Here's the daily Iceland soap opera and the Grindavik soap opera. So it continues. While the big picture should be looked at significantly, and that is that the whole Reykjanes Peninsula is waking up, guys. So the volcanic systems might be connected, and we could basically see, if that's the case, magma spreading through all these underground tunnels that already exist, and then it could be by surprise maybe erupt somewhere else as well, because if there's so many tunnels and fissures, and we don't know how many are underneath Grindavik. So the eruption is supposed to happen next week, but now, since the residents are allowed back in time, in town, not in time, back in time. Wow, that would be something, guys. I don't know what they would do if they were allowed back in time. So no, back in town 24/7. So they are allowed to stay in Grindavik overnight again. But the businesses as well, there's some reporters that have access, but there's trouble in the works again, because now the workers' union does not seem to be happy with what is happening. So we will talk about that. So it seems like someone's always unhappy, and you know, there's always trouble. So we will talk about that. But let's talk about a little bit what is going on in the magma chamber that is filling up again underneath the Swartsengi area, where the Blue Lagoon is located, and the power plant. I mean, we know the Blue Lagoon is open. They're living in their own little bubble. They have their announcement on the website that this is located in an earthquake area. So this is what they're telling the tourists. They're kind of like not mentioning what's going on underneath with the magma chamber and magma intrusions and tunnels and whatever. So, but we will not talk about this in this video. There's enough videos where you can check this out. Check out my playlist. I have a playlist about everything that is happening in Grindavik in Iceland on the Reykjanes Peninsula with the Blue Lagoon. So I'd advise you check it out. And while we're at it, please leave this video a like, guys. That would be absolutely awesome. And if you're new here, I'd love to earn your subscription, and it would be wonderful if you could subscribe if you make it to the end of the video, if you like what you see and want to be on the pulse with Silky in the future. So we think that the volcanic system that we're dealing with here in the Swartsengi area, in the Grindavik area, will probably make new headlines next week. And why is that so? So after the last eruption ended in February, the magma chamber started refilling right away. So it's filling up until it reaches the maximum point that it can be filled up with, until it reaches maximum elasticity, and then the magma needs to go somewhere else, and most likely it will cause another eruption. So because we have a lot of areas now where the crust is brittle because of all the tunnels that have been formed. So if that magma accumulation in the magma chamber, that filling up continues with the speed that it has right now, they think that the amount of magma that will be in that magma chamber will reach the same amount that it had before the last eruption next week, and that will trigger the next magma flow and then probably the next eruption. So that has been announced by the Icelandic Meteorological Office. The seismic activity in the zone north of Grindavik, where we have seen the last eruption, the Sutnuka crater series, continues to be mild right now. So there is no certain indication that something's going on there. So it's like only 20 small earthquakes have been recorded in a 24-hour time frame for the last few days. So that is not really something that looks significant. But we also know before the last eruption, the earthquake swarm was smaller, because this magma that was flowing used existing tunnels to get where it erupted. And so if you have existing tunnels, think about mining, and you don't have to dig out a new one with explosives and big drills. You're not making that much noise. You're not shaking the ground that much. So you can go unnoticed a little longer if you're the magma that's like a worm flowing underneath the Earth's crust, right? And so in light of this, is it safe to be in Grindavik? And we know they have invented a new hazard level for the town of Grindavik, and that's crack collapse. And the dangerous thing is, yes, we see the fissures, we see the cracks, we see some sinkholes in Grindavik, and we know sinkholes can open all of a sudden, new cracks can form, they can get wider, longer. You might not even see them because they're underneath a foundation or like underneath your house. Or in that case, they were underneath a sports arena, underneath a grass carpet, an artificial turf, so you couldn't really see it. But another danger is too, since they don't have a 3D model about what is really underneath Grindavik, how many fissures and tunnels, and how is that is it like a spider web? And some of them might even reach out to the sea. We know that magma intrusion that has formed on November 10th reaches out to the sea. So it really, and we know that the harbor area did sink on November 10th after that intrusion. And we know that the land has subsided in like 2 areas in Grindavik. So the question is, since we're right on the shore, will it, or maybe it is already possible for seawater to enter these tunnels? And if there's storm surges and the tides are high, can water get into the tunnels and then spread out underneath, and then even, widen the tunnels, flush out soil? And then we have more magma intrusions, we have more shaking because of earthquakes. Before every intrusion or eruption, we do have earthquakes that did more damage to the town of Grindavik, that did widen the fissures, that caused more sinkholes, and they still haven't mapped anything. So there is this risk. If these tunnels are connected, they can get wider. Some tunnels then are connected to a larger area. What if a larger area collapses all over a sudden and then a whole home sinks in, or the whole town? We just don't know that. Now they have done a big effort in Grindavik to do mapping again, but it does sound to me that they're not really mapping the underground Swiss cheese fissure system. Only what they see with their eyes, what they see above ground. And then, but basically you would have to have a very skilled engineering team that really measures what is going on under each home, under each paved road, where you don't see it. Like in open fields, you might see it earlier than under a paved road, because the pavement might hold a little while longer, although it's already hollow underneath. And that's why we see worldwide on roads. I have always China in my mind because it happens there very often. The road collapsing and a huge sinkhole forming and cars falling right into this. So this is the real danger of Grindavik, and I don't think the town is safe. I understand that the businesses want to continue, especially in the harbor area. So they started to have fresh fish come into port again so that it could be processed there. And the businesses are saying, hey, this is an ongoing disaster and we'll get in there as fast as we can. We do the work, we process, we work on it. And then if we have to evacuate again, we evacuate, but then we come back. We want to come back way more quickly and not be locked out for so long like we have in the past, so that we can resume business activities. And of course, they're comparing this with the Blue Lagoon, who basically opens right away and stays open till past the hour, past the last minute, to rake in the money from tourists. So, and of course, the businesses say we kind of want the same treatment. Of course, right now, because of the hazard level crack collapse, that's an additional danger level for Grindavik. So next week, guys, we have to stay alert. I'm pretty sure we will see another eruption, and I urge you, register, follow me. You don't have to register, just follow me on my page, buymeacoffee.com/silky, because then you will get email notifications from me. It's free. Email notifications when there's the next eruption or anything else of great significance that is happening. I'll send you these emails. I'm trying not to send you many emails. I don't want to spam you that you get an email every day or multiple times a week. I try to minimize it to a minimum. I mean, let me know, do you want to receive more emails with updates? I just want to be careful. I don't want to go on your nerves, guys, but go to buymeacoffee.com/silky and follow me there. Of course, if you want to support By Farm and my channel there, you can buy me a coffee as well. And to everyone who keeps doing that and keeps supporting me there, thank you so much. And thank you for the supers you're sending me here as well. So the risk assessment for Grindavik and for the whole area is unchanged. Before the previous eruption, we had a magma accumulation in that chamber that was believed between 8 and 13 million. So they think when it's around like 9 million cubic meters, we can really expect the eruption. And they are working on new computational models to get a more detailed picture of the amount that is accumulating in that magma chamber, because they're still basically kind of estimating. They're looking at the land rise, GPS data and satellite data, but it's very, very hard to do measuring. So this is far from being precise. So at the moment, they're saying there is no need to increase the danger level for any of the zones. I mean, they have added zone 7 because they have built a new access road for the Blue Lagoon, because the main road, Grindavik has completely been run over by lava, and that will remain like this for a while. So the hazard assessment will be updated next Monday, so that will be February 26th, but only if everything remains the same until then. If something changes to the worse in the next hours or days, of course they will update that hazard map. So the hazard levels will be raised like basically in accordance with the increased amount of magma underneath the Swartsengi area, and with that comes the possibility and probability of another volcanic eruption. But you know, we know that Grindavik is open, they're all back, but they are not all happy with it. The chairman of the union, the chairman of the Grindavik Workers Union, he is not happy with the rushed reopening. It was really a surprise that basically they caved and all of a sudden everything is open again, because it was so restrictive before, and now they're like, they just said, okay, come in. At your own risk, it's open 24/7. You can even start living there anymore. And again, not anymore. They're advising against it. They're saying the town is crippled, the infrastructure is crippled, there's no cold water, you know, the heating system is leaking, it's broken, you can't really heat to a certain extent, the sewer system. So it's not really like super livable, and they advise against it, but they caved to the pressure from the residents and the lawsuits that were pending against the state. So they said, okay, you can come back in. But you know, for the workers, it might be difficult, because now basically when the businesses are back open, they have to come back to work if they want to keep their salary. Before, some companies kept paying for the salaries. They have gotten some aid from the government. And yeah, now I'm sure that some workers say, well, I do not feel good about going back there. I don't want to go back there. So the chairman says that he is criticizing this rushed reopening of Grindavik because of the inadequate infrastructure, and of course because of major safety concerns. So he wants legislative changes to improve the conditions under which Grindavik residents can sell their homes, and after that, if the town is safe again, potentially repurchase their homes. So they say they want more fairness and they want financial security. So that union thinks it is irresponsible to reopen Grindavik. So it really seems like whatever the police chief of Sudurns and the civil defense department are doing, I think it's wrong. Are they keeping people out and say it's not safe, you cannot come in, we're just giving you a very controlled access for a few hours per day to get your belongings out? That was something people were not happy with and threatened the state, and they filed lawsuits, businesses filed lawsuits, private property owners wanted the right to live in their homes. They said, you're violating our civil rights by keeping us out from the properties. Of course, the residents are not happy with the assessment of their homes, the assessment for a potential government buyout. So that bill is currently being amended a little bit. They're saying not much. So I don't think residents will be super happy with the outcome. We're waiting that the government will announce that. But so the chairman of the Grindavik Workers Union, he is really stunned. And he said that Grindavik had been reopened all of a sudden, both for business operations and for individual people to reside in Grindavik again. So basically, he says, all of a sudden, like the doors of the town were just thrown wide open with virtually no cold water, almost no hot water, and a sewer system whose functionality under stress is completely unknown, not to mention that the fissures in the town are still being mapped out. They're still in the process of being mapped out. They haven't found all of them, and they haven't fenced off all of them. That's why the officials have said, do not bring your children. This is not an area for children to play, and children should not be in town. That's what they advise, but they can't keep people from bringing their kids. So that's why the chairman of the workers union, he has serious concerns about what is happening right now. So he says, that some employees of the businesses that are open again are apprehensive about returning to work in the town. And from what I have seen, that in the fish processing plants, there are quite a few people that are coming from abroad that are not Icelandic, and they're just coming there for work from Poland or other places. So it seems those guys do not want to risk their lives because they have no family ties to the town of Grindavik, so that they would say, this is my home, I don't want to give it up, I don't want to fight for the town, I want to come back to the town. Most of them do not own real estate in the town, so they don't feel good coming back there. And I really don't blame them. I can really understand the problem that they have, right? So the employees do not feel really good about returning to work. And he says, of course, he's sure that some companies would implement safety plans to resume their operations, but only when the overall conditions permit that, the safety of the ground that Grindavik is built on. So he strongly believes that they need to do further investigations to be able to ensure people's safety. And I think so too. They need to get help from somewhere and get some technology in there that can find out what is going on underground. Because remember when that worker fell into the crack in January, after the January eruption, he vanished. It was like a super long, deep crack with a 13-meter deep lake there. They put in underwater drones for 24 hours. 2 people were constantly together going down there trying to find him. So was he flushed out to some underground tunnel and fissure system? Because that was tell us that it's way more hollow than we might think. They just do not know. Also, what the workers' unions are saying, that, there has been no consultation with them. And just today, only today, they have been invited to a meeting with the minister, but no discussions before that, and they haven't been asked for their opinion. So that's why he says, I find it utterly irresponsible to allow people to stay in Grindavik again. And it's as if we're proposing to abolish traffic laws and telling people it's dangerous, but let's just be careful. Let's be on our toes. And he has a point there. I really think he has a point, and he is probably having the most common sense. And I think his opinion is, in my opinion, if you leave out all your personal feelings, all your fear about losing your business, all your fear about losing your existence, if you only simply look at the dangers for people's lives, I think he's 100% right with what he is saying. I understand the point of view from the business owners because it's their livelihood. They're going broke. What else can they do? I understand what the residents are saying because to them, oh, it looks not so bad. It can't be so bad. I want to be back in my home, right? I mean, some of them, they do want to leave, but they're kind of stuck because that buyout bill is still not happening. They still don't have cash at their hand. And with how the bill is designed right now, with only 95% being paid out from the fire insurance assessment, people, okay, they're getting rid of their mortgage payments, but they're not getting their cash out, the down payment that they did. And you have to see, in most European countries, the down payments are substantially higher than, for example, in the US and in Canada. So that's why people have more money in it. And it's really they're also, while their mortgage is running, they're paying off of that amount more than maybe in North America, right? It's a little bit of a different mindset than what I feel is going on in North America. So people are less willing to take on so much debt and credit for cars, for toy trailers and stuff. So it's in the US. You know, what is better? In the US, I see people living their best lives because when they're young, they're already buying a home at 25, at 30. In Europe, you're like, well, maybe if I'm 40, I can afford to buy a house, or you inherit something, right? Because it's very difficult to get these mortgages and you have to have your significant down payment, and people are always like, I need to pay that off. I don't want to have that much debt. In the US, they're like, okay, you know what? You can finance a jet ski, a boat, a big truck. You can all finance that, and some with zero down payment. And you know, the risk is, well, if you can't pay your rates, basically, they repossess the items and you're good to go in most cases. Versus in Europe or in Germany, you still owe that debt. If they take that back and have to sell it for less, you still have to pay the difference. And it's also very hard to just walk away from a mortgage and let the house be good. If the house sells for less in Europe, you still owe the money, sort of thing. It's a little bit easier. I don't know which system is the better one, you know. The older I get and the more people I lost in my life, I come to the conclusion you only live once. And if you have the chance to live your best life when you're young, and have the items, you know, versus just having them when you're so old that you can't move anymore or having health issues, of course it's nice to enjoy them while you're young. So both systems have advantages and disadvantages. And, you know, I love North America. I'm just like, it's less bureaucracy, although it's catching up, unfortunately, I have to say. But let me know, guys, what do you think? What's your impression? If you live in Europe, what do you think about what's going on in North America, and vice versa? If you live in Canada or the US, what do you think? Yeah, but let's get back to topic. So also, like the workers union guy says, like, no resident of Grindavik will be in the same position financially after they're selling their home off to the government. They will be in a worse financial position. And yes, and I know a lot of you guys are saying, well, it's a natural disaster. It's not the government's fault. Why should the government pay for everything? You know, they do have this natural disaster insurance that they're paying into, but that is also designed for one disaster, rebuild, done with. This could be 10 years, 20, 100, 300 years, repeat. So it's a difficult situation. he says that the residents will be forced, if they want to buy something else, to be buying homes in more expensive areas, and they have to move to smaller accommodations, and they will be forced to switch from detached homes to apartment buildings and incurring more debt. Because if you move closer to the Reykjavik area, and that's the only area that is more densely populated, there's not that many towns all over the place. It is way more expensive, and in the Reykjavik area there's more apartment buildings. There's not really that many detached homes with a garden. So I get it, they have to take a hit and they have to take a loss. So what he wants that benchmark of the 95% of the fire insurance value. He wants that increased, and he says he wants that more time for the people to decide whether they want to repurchase their homes in the future. So he says it must also be ensured that they can do so under the same terms as they sold. And you know what? I think this is more psychologically, because really I don't think, as sad as it is, that Grindavik will be safe anytime soon. The more I look into this, is this underground tunnel system. And as I said earlier, if the seawater starts flushing into them, I think the whole town could really subside and sink more and be completely destroyed. And but I get it psychologically. It's easier to let go when you say, hey, I can buy it back for the same amount at any time. That gives you a little bit more ease of mind. And then over time, right, when people are more detached with their heart from Grindavik, from their home, and have found a new place where they feel safe, where they feel home, it's easier for them then to let that go. And it'll ease the pain. And I absolutely get it, right? It's like if your partner's breaking up with you and he or she says, well, I still love you, I just want to be separated with you for 2 years and then we might get back together. This is usually what eases the separation pain, because you could get the partner back if you wanted to, right? And then of course over time you realize, no, it's not meant to be, and you find someone else and you're happy. Basically like that's what I always tell people if they're lovesick and they ask for my advice. I'm like, it is difficult, and I know it can be hurtful. I'm a person, I don't like to move. I usually stick around, and I love the places where I live. And I have a hard time to let go. And I'm always very, very sad, or if friends disappoint me or have arguments, and my heart realizes you have to let go and you have to separate from this. It's still hard, and physically separating, even if I have to get a new car or something, I still love my old car and would like to keep it. I know here in North America you can keep them and just let them rot in your yard. I think you'd go to jail in Germany if you did that there. Don't take the oil out and everything and just let it rot away in your garden. I think the neighbors would just like, oh my God, it's just not possible, right? So yeah, today I'm just wandering off to so many different topics, but you're telling me so much about you guys in the comments, so I think I want to let you know how my mind works in some areas. So we will have to see what is going to happen. I will keep you updated. Thanks so much, guys. Check out the videos in the end screen and stay safe, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.